do. Oh, Pochoy, can you hear?
Yeah, hello, I hear
Oh,
my
hey,
name.
hey.
Sorry.
Yes, no
Is
worries.
this
Yeah,
Jenisata?
so
Or sorry.
at first we're gonna start with you because Ajahn Laiwrrn's not here yet.
Sure, we can do that.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had a good life. And to start the afternoon sessions, now we have a panel discussion on strategic lawsuit against public participation, Slapp, on environmental journalists in Southeast Asia. This panel is co-organized by Community Resource Center, or CRC, and the Thai Society for Environmental Journalists, or TSEJ. This panel is moderated by Kun Jiraporn Kuhankan. May I invite Kun Jiraporn on screen, please? Good afternoon, Kun Jiraporn. So Kun Jiraporn Kuhankan is a Human Rights Award-winning journalist contributing to Reuters, producer and visual journalist to covering Indochina and beyond. She was previously a video journalist for BBC Thai, photojournalist at the Bangkok Post newspaper, and news presenter at Thai TV TNN 24. Kun Jiraporn, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Jerry. So without wasting any more time, I'm just going to kickstart. So good afternoon, everyone, and greetings all the speakers and listeners at home. I'm Gwang Jiraporn Kuhankan. I'm a committee at Environmental Journalists Association Thailand and also a journalist for Reuters. I'll be your moderator for today. First of all, I'd like to welcome you all to a panel discussion on strategic lawsuit against public participation, or we call it in the short term as Slapp, on environmental journalists in Southeast Asia. As you may already know what is Slapp, but please allow me to clarify that a little bit more. So basically, Slapp is the use of illegal tactic against journalists, whether they're professional or citizen journalists. Also, sometimes it's being used against human rights defender or some sort of opponents to silence, intimidate, or censor criticism of public interest issues. Slapp are used to silence and harass critics by forcing them to spend money to defend the base of suits. Slapp followers, they don't go to court to seek justice, but rather draining out the target's financial resources. Today, we have an amazing speakers that includes journalists who have been sued by Slapp, academics, activists, and also human rights offenders. So first of session, we kick off by discussions about the use of Slapp against environmental journalists and activists. What should journalists do, and when you get Slapp, and what is the situation like in Southeast Asia, and so on. And then the second session will be Q&A. So so that's the introduction of what is Slapp. I would like to invite our first guest. I would like to invite Mr. Pochoy Labog from Business and Human Rights Resource Center. He will be talking about this Slapp, how this Slapp is being used. So welcome, Mr. Pochoy. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me, Jiraporn, for this, also for your warm welcome. Can you just give me a second to share my screen? Okay. Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes. Yes. I think you can make it full screen if possible.
Full screen.
Yes. Okay, that's
How's
perfect.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect.
Okay, so I'm here to discuss. So yeah, so I guess I'm the first speaker, so I'll discuss sort of the the foundational concepts and basics about SLAPs and how it relates to journalists as human rights defenders. So just a quick introduction of myself. I'm from the Business and Human Rights Resource Center, which is an organization that tracks business-linked human rights violations. And so I am the Southeast Asia researcher and representative of the Resource Center. So just very quickly, the flow of my presentation, and this is just going to be 9 minutes, so very, very fast. I'll be discussing SLAPs in Southeast Asia, the general situation, SLAPs and the legal environment in Southeast Asia, and I'll talk about a few cases, including cases against journalists, which are surprisingly very few, and this is based on our SLAP briefer in Southeast Asia. And then I'll talk about recommendations, but this might be for later after the Q&A. Okay, so let's review what are SLAPs, or strategic lawsuits against public participation. So in 2019, the Resource Center, my organization, recorded around 290 plus instances of judicial harassment around the world. So in 2015, it was just 86 cases that were recorded by my organization. And in Southeast Asia, so there's a steady rise of these cases, and it's actually second to Central America in terms of number of cases recorded. So what is a SLAP? What we found is that it may be civil, criminal, or administrative. So it's a lawsuit, and it can be one of these three characteristics, and it is filed against a human rights defender exercising his or her freedom of expression, association, or peaceful assembly to speak about or act on matters related to business operations. So these are filed essentially to stifle the speech or the advocacy of a human rights defender. And then third, it has the intention of silencing, as I mentioned, and intimidating from engaging in the criticism or opposition, or what we call public participation. And this year we actually had a judicial dialogue on SLAPs, and where we invited key actors from different parts of Southeast Asia on the justice system. So we had prosecutors, lawyers, justices, and what came out, really, SLAPs is all about an abuse of the imbalance of powers. So here we have a state or a business, very powerful, and the medium to silence is the legal system, the judicial system, and the victim is someone that is less powerful, and journalists are included in this category of human rights defenders. And then another one is characteristic is with SLAPs, from a public issue, speaking out against, say, environmental degradation, a public issue, with SLAPs, it becomes a private matter. It becomes, a defamation case, a libel case. So that's typically the characteristic of a SLAP. So what are the tactics against HRDs? So SLAPs usually are combined civil or criminal lawsuits. So in the past, they were either civil or criminal, but now we see simultaneous cases being filed. And this exhausts the resources of human rights defenders. Another tactic is asserting exorbitant claims for damages. So the damages are quite large as being claimed against human rights defenders. Also, Slapp cases, the companies or governments, they use anti-communist or anti-terrorist laws against human rights defenders. And this is typically called red tagging or red baiting. And we also see that attorneys, lawyers are also being sued now, not just human rights defenders. So lawyers become human rights defenders, those that are supporting human rights defenders. Expert witnesses, also NGO workers. And we also found that, sorry about the typo, one of the findings also that SLAPs target women human rights defenders. So we found that 63 out of the 249 human rights defenders in Southeast Asia are women. So why are SLAPs effective against human rights defenders? Well, mainly because SLAPs because there are no clear legal frameworks against SLAPs or that prevents SLAPs from happening. And second, SLAPs are especially consequential when litigation support is scarce or absent, or when there's no financial legal aid. As I said, this is really a case of power imbalance where a corporation would sue someone that is less powerful, a journalist, let's say. And of course, this entails financial resources to maintain the defense of the suit. And we see actually, even with civil society, there's not much funding on litigation. And even when funding exists, when funding to help human rights defenders exist, the lifetime of this funding is usually just 1 to 3 years. And we know that in Southeast Asia, the litigation is long. Sometimes it goes up to 10 years. And compared to a company has unlimited resources because, again, the power imbalance. So let's go on to the legal environment in Southeast Asia. What does it look like? In Southeast Asia, of course, international legal frameworks are recognized, and these are the UDHR, the ICCPR, various international covenants and conventions. They protect the right to freedom of expression, association, and peaceful assembly. In the Philippines is actually the only have a right to make these statements if there's no malice and if there's cause. And the court also recognized that activists have contributed much to the general well-being of society, and the values of transparency and accountability are better served when they are allowed to make statements against companies' operations, and that these statements are true. I think I only have a few more minutes. I'm sorry.
Pochoy, you have a little. Well, actually, you have a bit more time. because our
Okay. All right.
yeah, we have a technical problem. Yeah, our system is down at the moment. Yeah, so our live just
All right.
stopped. Yeah, so we're trying to reconnect. So we might have to ask you
Okay.
to go back to your first few slides, just repeat the
Sure,
few thing a
sure.
little. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry about that.
It's okay. It's
Yes,
okay.
the
Just let me know
electricity,
where.
electricity just went down and the whole life just got shut
Okay.
down. Yeah, yeah. This sort of problem
Okay.
with
There's
our countries.
no problem.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think yeah, it's back up. So I think we should just go back to the first few slides that you had mentioned, and we can continue.
Good.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Do you know where the
I think it got
electricity?
cut after you mentioned about the litigation is continue for like 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it got cut.
Okay.
Yeah, then the company can't afford to support. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
yeah, why slaps are effective? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, before the electricity got cut, I was talking about why slaps are effective against the work of human rights defenders. And I mentioned the first reason is that because the legal framework is vague for the protection of human rights defenders against slaps. And the second is that there is little support for litigation against slaps. So I mentioned that slap suits cost time and money, especially when human rights defenders face not just one but several suits, and there's not a lot of support for defending these cases, and civil society organizations do provide support, but when these funds exist, the lifetime depends on the lifetime of the project. So the support is usually just 1 to 3 years. And we know that in Southeast Asia, the cases seldom conclude in 3 years. Some cases even go up to 10 years. And so we compare the lack of support or insufficient support to HRDs to the enormous resources of companies, where companies really have significant litigation resources available. Excuse me. And I think I forgot to mention that there's also not enough government legal aid in Southeast Asia when it comes to these types of suits. Okay, so let's move on to the legal environment in Southeast Asia. So I mentioned that, of course, there's the international legal framework that we have that's found in the UDHR, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and these covenants and conventions, they protect rights to freedom of expression, assembly, and association. So we have that international legal framework. And I think I mentioned that only the Philippines has a definition, a legal definition of slaps. But state constitutions in Southeast Asia, except Brunei, um, they protect the rights to freedom of expression, assembly, and association. So we find these rights expressly provided in state constitutions in Southeast Asia. But let me speak more about the particular countries. I mentioned the Philippines. We do have a definition of SLAP, particularly in our Supreme Court rules of procedure in environmental cases. But this remedy for human rights defenders is only available in cases related to the environment. So here, a human rights defender can allege in a lawsuit that is brought against him or her that this lawsuit is a SLAP, it is brought with the intent to harass or exert undue pressure or stifle him or her in the advocacy for the environment. But it's only limited to that. So that's for the Philippines. In Thailand, so there are no existing laws defining SLAPs, but there is section 1611 and 1652 of the Criminal Procedure Code. So with section 161, this allows the courts to dismiss criminal cases if the court makes a determination that the cases arise from ill intention to harass, to take advantage over a person, to gain any unlawful benefits, or to achieve any corrupt underlying objectives. So that's an available defense. In section 165(2), the court, the law allows the accused to present legal and evidentiary arguments during a preliminary examination of the court where they previously could not do so. And it allows the court to play a more active role by having the power to summon witnesses and evidence proposed by the accused as the court's witnesses.
ยอดเลยอ่ะ
In the,
วันเนี้ยขอ
yeah.
PowerPoint เข้าไปด้วย
So, sorry. Yeah, so in Indonesia, also there are no laws defining SLAPs, but there's some protection that can be found in Article 66 of the Law on Environmental Protection and Management, which provides everyone who fights for the right to a proper and healthy living environment cannot be charged with a criminal or civil offense. Also, Article 78(1) from the Prevention and Eradication of Forest Destruction Law states that reporters and informants cannot be sued legally either by the Penal Code or Civil Code for reports and testimonies they will provide, are providing, or have provided. So as I mentioned, there's some protection, but it's not enough and it's not clear in laws in Southeast Asia. Okay, so I also mentioned a while ago that there are some cases, judicial pronouncements that speak, that discuss SLAPs, but not a lot on journalists. So let me discuss a few of these cases. So the first one is in Malaysia, and this is a pretty famous case that was filed against a human rights defender by a mining company, Raub Australian Gold Mining, which sued a human rights defender for libel and malicious falsehood because of statements that were made by the human rights defender in two published articles. So this relates to the operations of the gold mining company and its effects on the residents in the area of operation, saying that they were the operations were affecting their health negatively. So yeah, I'm sorry. I think there's someone speaking. Sorry about that. So for this case, the federal court dismissed the cases because the company failed to prove the results of the survey were false, and the respondent made these statements maliciously and without just cause. So here, the court recognized the active role in contributing to the well-being of society. So which is a great precedent. This particular case also in Malaysia, the PDZ Holdings Berhad versus the Edge Communications in 2018. This is on journalists that were sued by PDZ Holdings because of 3 articles that was published that's also criticizing the company. So here, the High Court dismissed the case in favor of the defendants, the journalists, and recognized 3 defenses: the trade reputation defense, defense of comment, and defense of qualified privilege. So I don't think I will discuss that in detail, but essentially, the court recognized that the journalists have a right and obligation to report on matters of public interest, even if these include negative information about the companies. And they should not be liable for libel or defamation if their reports are based on verifiable and reliable sources. So that's very good case in favor of journalists. The last case I'll discuss is the case in Thailand, the Tukum case, which was in 2015, which was a case that was filed against a community-based group, the KRBKG, filed against them by a corporation, where they actively protested the operations of the corporation. And here, again, the court recognized the right to protest against prejudicial company operations is part of the right to assert the need to protect the environment and community resources. So also a very good case for human rights defenders. Yes, so yeah, that concludes the first part of my presentation. Later on, I will discuss recommendations for stakeholders and also civil society on how to deal with Slapps. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Pochoy. Yeah, so now we know what the situation is like in Southeast Asia. He already gave us details and also a law in each country. I would like to move on to our next guest, Ajahn Vilaywan Vilaygasem. She's a professor from Thธรรมศาสตร University. She will talk about the role of media and how media should be protected from getting slapped. So welcome, Ajahn Vilaywan ค่ะ
ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ
ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์เชิญได้เลยค่ะ
เริ่มที่อาจารย์เหรอคะ
ค่ะอาจารย์วิไลวันค่ะค่ะต่อได้เลยค่ะ
ขอโทษเนอะเซสชั่นตอบตอนนี้คือเป็นอาจารย์เหรอคะ
ใช่ค่ะใช่ค่ะ
อ๋อเหรอตอนแรกคิดว่าเป็นคนสุดท้าย ขอโทษด้วยค่ะที่เขาแป๊บหนึ่งนะคะ เดี๋ยวขอแป๊บหนึ่งจะแชร์สไลด์แป๊บหนึ่งค่ะ ขอจะนำเสนอเป็นภาษาไทยนะคะ ได้ยินไหม ตอนนี้เห็นสไลด์ไหมคะ ไม่ได้ยินอ่ะ ตอนนี้ได้ยินอาจารย์ไหมคะ
เห็นค่ะได้ยินค่ะ
ค่ะ อาจารย์นำเสนอเป็นภาษาไทยนะคะ
ได้ยินค่ะอาจารย์
ได้ยินนะคะ โอเค ตอนนี้เห็นสไลด์ไหมคะ
เห็นสไลด์ค่ะอาจารย์
เห็นสไลด์นะคะ ค่ะ อาจารย์นำเสนอเป็นภาษาไทยนะ
ถ้า
คะ
เปิดให้เป็นเต็มหน้าจออีกนิดนึงได้ไหมคะ
ได้ค่ะแป๊บนึงโอเคค่ะ
โอเคค่ะ
โอเค ตอนแรกอาจารย์ขอโทษนะคะ โอเคค่ะ จากโจทย์ที่ให้มานะคะที่ว่าจะว่าด้วยเรื่องของบทบาทสื่อค่ะวันนี้ค่ะอาจารย์เลยตั้งหัวข้อนะคะหัวข้อในที่นี้เนี่ยอาจารย์เลยใช้คำว่านะคะ Media Today ค่ะเหตุผลว่าทำไมถึงใช้คำว่า Media Today นะคะเนื่องจากว่าณวันนี้เนี่ยโอเคค่ะทำไมถึงใช้คำว่า Media Today นะคะเนื่องจากวันนี้เนี่ยความเป็นสื่อนะคะเปลี่ยนแปลงไปเยอะมากนะคะเราจะได้ยินคำว่าความเป็นสื่ออาชีพนะคะหรือคำว่า professional journalist ค่ะแต่ขณะเดียวกันค่ะเราก็มีข้อถกเถียงณวันนี้โดยเฉพาะในประเทศไทยเกี่ยวกับความเป็น citizen นะคะ journalist หรือ citizen reporter ค่ะซึ่งในจุดนี้ค่ะเลยเป็นที่มาของคำว่าวันนี้เราจะมาคุยกันเรื่องของคำว่า media today ค่ะข ขอเริ่มต้นค่ะด้วยภาพนี้นะคะแล้วก็คำถามนี้ค่ะเมื่อตอนต้นปีนะคะของประเทศไทยนะคะก็มีคำถามเกิดขึ้นนะคะจากนักเรียนนะคะนักศึกษาค่ะทางด้านเกี่ยวกับสื่อทางด้านวารสารศาสตร์นะคะถามนะคะเกี่ยวกับถามกลับไปที่สื่อค่ะถามกลับไปที่คนทำข่าวว่านะคะสื่อมีไว้ทำไมค่ะ Why does the media exist ค่ะซึ่งคำถามนี้เนี่ยก็เป็นคำถามที่น่าสนใจอยู่เหมือนกันค่ะในวันที่สื่อที่บอกว่าตัวเองเป็นสื่อวิชาชีพนะคะถูกตั้งคำถามอยู่เหมือนกันกับบทบาทหน้าที่ของสื่อณวันนี้ค่ะเราปฏิเสธไม่ได้นะคะในวันที่เทคโนโลยีมันเข้ามา
advance of technology that disrupt the media personnel and capitalism impact significantly the roles of the journalists. The role of the journalists have changed significantly in terms of credibility, in terms of the role of the media and the society's questioning of the role of the media. So that's why journalists students ask, why does the media exist? Let's go back to the more relevant topic to the discussion, the role of the media in the society. Today, we actually have heard the role of the media as the watchdog, the term media as the watchdog, and also the role of the media as agenda setters, or the media as a social change and movement agent. This day, when there are a lot of disruptive technology driving technology and societal change, let's go back to the role of the media, and probably the first role of the media as watchdog. It seems that these are the basic roles and basic concepts for the media, that they have to be the watchdog in terms of the media's capacities and role to monitor the government's operation, which is one of the basic roles of the media in a democratic society. However, the role of the media, of the watchdog this day, I have been doing the research. When you define the term journalist, how do people define journalists and journalists as watchdog? Do the society still pay attention to the role of the media as the watchdog, and the people who are the journalists in the societies have been viewed as less significant in the way they play the role as a watchdog? And I think the journalists in the society have to identify what makes them play the role of the watchdog, or effective watchdog of monitoring the government's action. When the society perceives that the media have played less role of a watchdog, it also depends on whether the country is more or less democratic. And I think in this panel today, many people and many resource person, or even many journalists, whether you are professional journalists or working with a professional media organization, or citizen journalists, or citizen reporter, if you live in the democratic country, also play the role on how the media can contribute to your operation, whether you are professional or citizen journalism. Secondly, the second role is the media as agenda setter. The media have the great influence to their audiences because they can identify and set the agenda in the society. That means the media also have the power in their hand as well as influence to their audiences in the society, for or the general public in the society, in terms of the access to information. According to the theory of agenda system, we should think about the role the media play the role what society should actually think. So in this regard, we have seen that the media, for example, if you are like communicators, or if you are mobilizing change, or if you want to be communicator as change maker, whenever you raise an issue in terms of agenda setting, the agenda setting role of the media has played a vital role. But however, sometimes the media also have been manipulated by the government. If the media are not so like mindful of their roles, they can be manipulated easily by the government who set agenda on the behalf of the government. Journalists as or reporter are still like working on their roles in order to influence social change and movement. So if you are just like the media, if you inform people, I think 5W1 1H, who, what, where, when, why, how, you know, like if you say like you are the professional journalist and people can inform the societies, and whenever the media want to play the role, if they want to create an additional value more than anyone can be journalists or like citizen journalists, they can raise or identify issue for social change and contribute to some value in the societies. And I think the media can also play the roles in terms of like using social media. And media can be change agent. In this panel, this is a part of the social movement. And in this social movement, we can do it locally, or we can do it regionally, or even transboundary or transnationally. So we need to collaborate. Together, we can see like today the media probably like play the role for like social changer and media as the movement. Finally, we actually have a lot of technologies, and we actually like have the media have played different role. For using technologies and social change topic or thematic agenda in order to mobilize the social change. So whether the role of the media is just like agenda setting, social change and movement, or technology and social change, the media have been affected by technology, and having these technologies means the new technology and the power of technology have transformed the communication to from just like professional journalism to citizen journalism. I think like in the Philippines, in Indonesia, as well as other countries in the region, do we have professional journalism, or whether the professional journalism have been disrupted by citizen journalism, or whether the citizen journalism can be used to support and empower the work of professional journalists, and how citizen journalists can complement the role of professional journalists. Citizen journalists can also complement the role of professional journalists. It can be both problematic, or it can actually like raise this issue to the state in terms of the qualification and the definition of citizen journalists. The government often time in Thailand try to manage citizen journalists, and also try to manage and manipulate and regulate them. Technology enables social change and also enable the change of the role of the media. With the power of technology, the technology can transform communication channels. Many times, this contribute the important factor because from the mainstream media or traditional media, we have like printed media, radio, television, newspaper, etc. And these media are like under the media industry. These channels are under capitalism and the media industry. So the birth of traditional media, which is closely controlled and governed by capitalism, reduce the role of professional journalism to a certain restriction and limitation under the media industry and under capitalism, because of course the media is also the business, and the media business will be regulated by the state using various means, for example sponsorship. And how can technology actually like change this landscape? Technology enable digital and social media platform which can be used for people who have the passion, who have the passion, who want to be the journalist, or who want to engage in the journalist space. They can have the media platform in order to broadcast the news, the information in which the mainstream media or professional journalists cannot broadcast or cannot actually like discuss this issue. Currently in Thailand, when there are protests in Dindang area, we have seen that there are many news or many facts which are visual that have been invisible in the traditional or professional media space. However, we can see this in the citizen journalism spaces.
มันก็จะเข้ามานะคะเทคโนโลยีเนี่ยที่มันเข้ามาเนี่ยก่อให้เกิด citizen journalism เนี่ย
So with this technology that helps citizen journalists, it can also complement the work of professional journalists.
ตรงนี้ค่ะถ้าเกิดเรามาดูนะคะว่าอ้าวแล้วนะคะ
So
นะคะข้อถกเถียงเกี่ยวกับ citizen journalist เนี่ยค่ะอาจจะมีอยู่เยอะมากโดยเฉพาะในส่วนของรัฐนะคะที่มองว่าการทำงานของ
the government want to control citizen journalists.
มีผลดีกว่าค่ะมีผลต่อภาพลักษณ์นะคะมีผลต่อภาพลักษณ์และมีผลต่อความน่าเชื่อถือนะคะของรัฐนะคะอย่างมากนะคะดังนั้นเราจะมาลองดูกันค่ะว่าแล้ว
And the role of the citizen journalists as an alternative media have challenges the state's attempt to control professional journalists. So what distinct citizen journalists and professional journalists? Do they have like different role, different sources, and different role and responsibility, and this different characteristic? Citizen journalists also play the role of journalists, just like professional journalists, and of course their role can complement the operation of professional journalists who have some obstacle or barrier in their coverage. Some issue mainstream media cannot cover or cannot report because they are under control of their professional or organization, their media institution, or because of the regulation from the state. The state have various roles to regulate professional journalists. For example, the National Broadcasting and Telecommunication Committee of Thailand, or NBTC. But one of the issue is if you use the term trivializing citizen journalism. People often kind of like question about the code of ethics for citizen journalists or whether they have been governed by the code of ethics because professional journalism usually they are trained, they are regulated by the government or like self-regulation or professional journalist regulation or journalism association regulation by their peers as well as the regulation by their employers. But citizen journalists also have self-regulation. Excuse me, Ajahn, I think probably like we may need to ask you to kind of like wrap it up because like we are a little bit late and it will affect like other resource person. Thank you so much. I think like when we have the role of the media, for example, the media as the watchdog, the media as agenda setter, or the media as like the social movement and social change.
คนทำสื่อที่เรียกว่า citizen journalism กับบทบาทของความเป็น citizen journalist นี้ค่ะตรงนี้ท้ายสุด
So finally, in conclusion, how should journalists or the media be protected? After I have discussed about the role of the citizen journalist and media profession, and of course, if you work by questioning the role of the state, the role of the government, or if you work as the watchdog to actually like inspect the role of the government, the development or the government's project, or even the private sector's investment or business. So how should journalists or media be protected? In this regard,
เวลาที่เรากำลังทำหน้าที่ตรวจสอบสื่ออยู่เนี่ยสื่อก็คงจะไม่ค่อยชอบใจเท่าไหร่เนอะ
Of course, we have the media regulation. The media can be investigated. The media can be regulated, and of course, people expect the people in power expect the journalists to report what the people in power would like to report or replicating their message rather than performing investigative roles. So, rather than asking how should the media be protected, what about changing the framing of the question, how should we protect journalism? And there are many approaches to control the media.
เมื่อเรานำเสนอสิ่งที่รัฐไม่ได้ต้องการที่จะให้สังคมรับรู้นะคะ
The media can be controlled or regulated if the government use the law to control the media. For example, Media Control Act or like using the emergency decree to control the media in order to prevent professional media and citizen reporter or even the people in the society to discuss certain issue. The Thai state at that time used the term creating panic in the societies. Whatever create the panic in the societies, I think it is a fact, and that fact actually like represent certain set of information that the government may not want you to know, but the government want to regulate that truth. The government want to control that truth. And of course, if we allow the media to be controlled or intimidated, whether they are professional or like citizen journalism, when they're trying to like present different fact or different opinion. However, there's a new trend in Thailand. It will be labeled as fake news if you present different fact or different opinion. The government will label you as fake news. So this is one of the issue that I would like to share with participants in this panel. Thank you so much.
Phan ไม่ได้เปิดไมค์ค่ะ
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Ajahn Vilaiwanนะคะ, for your information on the role of media and how it changed significantly in the past year, and also how media should be protected from getting slapped. Since we have heard from media academic and human rights offender, next it would be journalist guest from Indonesia. He's an editor of local media website called anjahits.id, and he had a very well known experience. He was arrested for 3.5 months because of an article that followed by the criminal complaint from the Indonesian palm oil company. So let's hear more about this from him. I would like to welcome Mr. Diananta Putra Sumedi. So welcome, Diananta. Can you hear? There might be a technical problem from Dianata's end. I'm not sure if he can still hear me or not. If not, I'll give him a bit of time to fix that problem. So let me move on to our next guest, who's a Thai journalist, and he also get slapped. So I would like to welcome Kun Prat Ruchi Waranon. He was experienced journalist also, and there's also a slap cases going on for him at the moment. So welcome, Kun Prat.
Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself again. I am right now an assistant journalist at Bangkok Post, and I have been sued twice. For the first time, back when I was working at the Nation newspaper, maybe three years ago, and then another time when I working at GreenNews agency. Both of the case, I have been sued by the Thai mining company that operate the tin mine in Myanmar. And the reason for my case is because I am reporting their operation in Myanmar that caused the environmental impact to the local villages. The evidence is quite clear. We can see that the river is damaged and the farmland of the community also destroyed. But as for the first case, the company said my report is not true. So we have a court fight. But finally, the first case is passed, and then another case. It showed that right now Thailand is not having a proper protection on the reporter working in Thailand or not. As for my case, I have been sued for Computer Crimes Act because they said I put on fake news into the internet. And another case is defamation, which the two often is commonly used against the journalists both in Thailand, and many cases also suffer the same fate as me. My point is, as right now we live in the globalized world, and a lot of news issue is not only happen in one country. The bottom line is when the reporter have to work elsewhere, they should be protected by the law, whether or not in their country. I have another case to share with you all. It happened after the collapse of Sapien Senamnoi Dam in Laos, and I went there to report about the damage that has been done by the dam collapse. And for that case, I am not being target of the lawsuit, but another kind of oppression against the reporter who working there. I have been tracked by the police, and luckily there is no case against me for that case. But it shows that the reporter is not working freely in Asian countries, and we should have the better protection for the journalists, whether in Thailand or not. Well, I am not a good
นี้นะครับคือผมอาจจะไม่ใช่คนที่พูดเก่งนะครับแต่ว่าสำหรับต่อไปเนี่ยก็ขอจบการนำเสนอในช่วงนี้แต่เพียงเท่านี้นะครับเดี๋ยวในช่วงต่อไปเนี่ยก็จะนำเสนอเรื่องของข้อเสนอแนะต่อไปขอบคุณครับ
Thank you, Kun Pat, for sharing your experience. Yeah, so well, you're saying that you're not a good speaker, but actually your experience speak volume. I think our guest is ready. Kun Diananta, if you can hear, I would like you to be the next guest, since we have heard from Media Academy, Human Rights, and one of the journalists. So we would like to hear from another journalist from Indonesia who he's an editor of the local media that I mentioned before, and he was arrested. So I'd like him to share his experience of what happened and go into detail what happened. So please welcome Diananta.
Okay, Mrs.
Yes. Welcome. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. My presentation is.
So I will start my presentation.
Can you see my presentation?
Can you see my presentation?
Apakah bisa melihat presentasi saya?
Can you see my presentation?
No, cannot see.
No.
Can you see my presentation?
Or do you want me to share your presentation, Nanta?
Do you want me to share your presentation, Nanta?
Nih. Pre? Oh, Merkulis. Nah,
So since Diananta are having problem with his slide.
ini.
Oh, okay. So it's here.
Oke. Bisa melihat presentasi saya?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Maybe you
If
can,
you can make it full
down
screen, it
the mic.
would be great.
Oke. Oke. Saya akan menjelaskan terkait untuk waktu presentasi berapa menit?
How long is the presentation? 9 minutes, is it correct?
Untuk waktu presentasi berapa menit?
How long is the presentation? 9 minutes, is it correct?
9 menit. 9 menit ya?
9 minutes.
Oke. Jadi saya Diananta akan mempresentasikan secara umum dulu ya, secara umum terkait
I will
perlindungan
share a presentation in
Slapp
general regarding the
untuk jurnalis dan
anti-Slapp
aktivis di
protection
Indonesia.
for journalists and activists in Indonesia.
2 dekade lebih pasca reformasi 98,
So for more than 2 decades after the 1998 reform,
kebebasan sipil di Indonesia cenderung merosot.
the civil liberties in Indonesia tend to decline.
Salah satunya partisipasi publik mewujudkan lingkungan yang sehat dan berkeadilan.
One of them is the criminalization of public participation to create a healthy and equitable environment. One of them is the criminalization of public participation.
Partisipasi publik di Indonesia sebenarnya sudah dijamin di dalam Undang-Undang Dasar 1945.
In fact, public participation has actually been guaranteed in Article
Seperti pasal 28,
Article 28C,
nah ini berikut ancaman terhadap pejuang lingkungan dan wartawan yang
and this is the threat that is
menuliskan
given to
lingkungan
the journalists,
di Kalimantan Selatan khususnya dan di Indonesia secara umum.
specifically in Kalimantan and also Indonesia in general.
Ada Undang-Undang Nomor 11 Tahun 2020 tentang Cipta Kerja.
We have threats to environmental journalism, and then this law number 11 of 2020 on job creation.
Undang-Undang Nomor 3 Tahun 2020 tentang pertambangan
Law
mineral
number
dan
3
batu
of
bara.
2020 on mineral and coal mining.
And then Undang-Undang Nomor 19 Tahun 2016 tentang
Law number 19 of
informasi dan transaksi
2016 on
elektronik.
electronic information and transaction.
Undang-Undang Nomor 41 tentang kehutanan.
Law number 41 on forestry.
Ada 4 contoh kasus pemidanaan partisipasi publik ya di sini.
We have 4 criminal
sendiri
cases. The first case
yang divonis
is
pidana
my own
3
case.
bulan 15 hari penjara
I was
atas
sentenced to 3
pelanggaran
months
pasal
in prison for violating
ayat 2
Article 28, paragraph 2 of the ITE law, or the Electronic Information and Transaction law.
Kemudian Trisno Susilo, Sekretaris Aliansi Masyarakat Adat
And
Nusantara,
then to Trisno Susilo, former Secretary of the Indigenous People Alliance of the Tanbu Archipelago,
divonis 4 tahun penjara atas
was
pelanggaran
sentenced
pasal
to 4 years
50
in prison for violating Article 50, paragraph 3,
huruf A Undang-Undang Kehutanan.
letter A of the Forestry Law.
I'm sorry, Diananta.
Yes.
I think you turn on the audio in the background, so that's why it's a bit echoey. Is it possible to turn the volume down or turn off the speaker in your background? Is that possible?
My case or
I think it's
General.
one of your speaker. Do you have other laptop that you turn on? Oh yeah. Oh no, it's still there.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it could be the Facebook Live that you leave it on.
Okay.
Yeah. So was it off? Oh yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, so it's all gone now. So you can continue, please. Thank you very much, and sorry for interruption. So sorry. Please continue. Diananta, are you still there? We couldn't hear you. Diananta, are you still there? We couldn't hear you.
Terdengar.
Okay,
Sekarang.
we can hear you now. Please continue. Thank you very much.
Oke. 2 wartawan di Palangkaraya. Maybe technical problem.
Yes, okay, I think we can continue. Thank you.
Saya melanjutkan ke slide 4 ya. Mekanisme anti-Slapp di Indonesia. Pasal 66 Undang-Undang Nomor 32 Tahun 2019 tentang PPLH.
So the Indonesian anti-Slapp mechanism in Indonesia is using Article 66 of Law Number 32 of 2009.
Keputusan Ketua MA
on
nomor
the
36
Environmental Protection and
tahun
Management, or
2013
PPLH, and also there's a decision of the
tentang
Chief Justice
pemberlakuan
of the
pedoman
Supreme
penanganan
Court
perkara
number 36 of
lingkungan hidup
2013 on the implementation of guidelines for handling environmental cases.
Pasal 58 Undang-Undang Nomor
Article
18 tahun
58 of Law Number 18 of
tentang pencegahan dan
2013 on
pemberantasan
prevention
perusakan
and
hutan.
eradication of forest destruction.
pasal 18 ayat 1 Undang-Undang
Article 18,
Nomor 40
paragraph
tahun
1 of Law Number
99
40
tentang
of 1999 on the press.
Penguatan dari sekian kasus perlu ada penguatan
From
kebijakan
the case perspective, we need to strengthen
anti-SLAPP.
the anti-SLAPP policy.
Pertama perlu regulasi turunan lewat peraturan
We need
menteri
a
atas
subordinate
pasal
regulation
66
under a ministerial
Undang-Undang Nomor
regulation on
32
Article
tahun
66 of Law Number 32 of
2009 tentang
2009
PPLA.
on Environmental Protection and Management Law.
Perlu pedoman teknis bagi polisi dan
Technical guidelines
kejaksaan
are needed for the
terkait
police and
anti-SLAPP
prosecutors regarding anti-SLAPP.
dalam Undang-Undang ITE,
In the
Kapolri,
ITE law
Kepala
or
Polri
the Electronic Information and Transaction,
telah
the National
menerbitkan
Police
pedoman teknis perkara ITE. Penguatan peraturan Komnas HAM nomor 5
We need
tahun
to strengthen the
2015
National Commission
tentang
of Human
prosedur
Rights
perlindungan
Regulation
terhadap
number
pembela
5
HAM.
of 2015 on procedure for the protection of human rights defenders.
Jurnalis seharusnya yang konsisten
So
menulis isu
journalists
HAM
who
dan lingkungan
consistently write on human
patut
rights
menerima
and
perlindungan yang
environmental
sama.
issues deserve the same protection.
Komitmen pengimplementasian
Commitment to
Undang-Undang
implementing law number
nomor
40 of
40
1999
tentang pers.
on the press or journalism.
Kemudian tentang kasus saya sendiri,
And then as for my own case,
saya dipidana 3 bulan
I
15 hari
was sentenced for 3 months and 12 days
akibat menulis konflik lahan di
regarding
Kabupaten Kota Baru
land conflict in Kota Baru area.
antara PT
It was
Joling Agro
between
Raya
PT Agro Raya
dan masyarakat
and the
setempat.
community or the local community,
Masyarakat ada di
the
komunitas
indigenous
adat
people,
Dayak Batu Lasso.
the Batu Lasso Dayak people.
Kasusnya sebenarnya sudah selesai di Dewan
Actually,
Pers.
the case was settled in the press board.
Tapi dari
However,
pihak kepolisian daerah Kalimantan Selatan tetap melanjutkan kasus
the
ini.
regional police in South Kalimantan still proceed the case. So they did not accept the conclusion of the press council.
Jadi bagi saya pribadi,
so for me individually,
ancaman terhadap wartawan yang
the threat
kritis menulis
against journalists who are
persoalan
being
lingkungan
critical, talking about environmental issues,
patut mendapat perhatian karena
has to be
di lokasi yang saya
part
tulis
of our concern, because in my area where I write,
di situ ada dugaan
there
penyerobotan
is an
tanah masyarakat
allegation
adat.
that people try to take over the land of the indigenous people.
Kemudian ada beberapa dampak buruk
And then
dari
there are several
pemidaan
bad
saya pribadi,
impacts
di
to
mana
me
saya
personally.
menderita kerugian secara ekonomi
I
akibat
have
biaya jasa pengacara
economical damages or financial losses
dan operasional selama kasus berjalan
due to attorney fees, operational funds
dan biaya
during the
lain yang
case,
tidak
and
terduga.
other unexpected costs.
Pemidanaan ini bisa
There's
memicu ketakutan untuk
criminalization that
berpartisipasi
may
lagi
trigger
dalam kontroversial
fear to continue participating in social control
memperjuangkan
and
hak
to fight
masyarakat,
for people's rights,
khususnya kerja-kerja
specifically
wartawan.
journalist works.
Mungkin demikian dulu presentasi saya.
That's all my
Bisa
presentation.
dielaborasi lebih lanjut
I
tanya
can
jawab.
have further elaboration during the Q&A session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Diananta. I think we're gonna talk more during the Q&A session, like you mentioned. So let's move on to our next guest. I would like to welcome Mr. Edwin Ayo, a journalist from Gold Star Daily in Philippines. He's a well-experienced journalist from Philippines who has been reporting about environmental and received death threats from exposing illegal activities. So welcome, Mr. Edwin.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry. Actually, I have no. I'm not prepared for the what's that presentation because of the short time that I have received the invitation then the questionnaires, but what's that I'm share with per question. There were 5 question based on my experience. That's okay. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, without presentation is good enough.
Yeah. Based on question number 1, what the environmental case that he and she has worked. Actually, I am very concerned in the protection of our environment against any destruction, especially corals in the coastal area, destruction of forestal areas that are covering Mount Balatukan and Mount Sumagaya Range in Hingog City, province of Misamis Oriental in Mindanao, Philippines. The question number 2, how she or he use role of journalist to support community and CSO on environmental cases. Yes, so, I actually exposed several cases like exposed through newspaper Mindanao Gold Star Daily, so that the appropriate action from the agency concerned will. But actually, I have a series of exposure on massive illegal quarrying in the province. But the government agency concerned, especially the INR, have no action yet until now. That's my next question. Based on what's that? The next question is, what Slapp that he, she, or fish, and how he or she deal with Slapp? For me, based on my exposure, I have experienced direct death threat from the community environment and natural resources officer. I don't know how and what happened to this investigation. Next question is there any law or regulation or activity to do any kind of anti-Slapp? If actually, the law is not specific for the protection of the journalists focusing on reporting on about environmental issues. There is a law, a Philippine law. What's that? On Bill of Rights, freedom of expression, but there is no specific law on the protection on for the journalists reporting on the in the environmental issues. Next, what the suggestion, recommendation for role of lawyers to work on environmental cases in his/her country? and his region, especially for redesign for country ASEAN and the region. My suggestion, of course, to appropriate legal lawyers must appropriate legal lawyer must be or should be give free legal assistance to all journalists actively supporting involved and her advocacy or his advocacy in the preservation of the environment. Also, should the government appropriate budget intended for legal assistance and for the protection of the journalists in the country. That's all, ma'am. Sir.
So that's all from Mr.
Yes,
Edwin
ma'am.
for now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to move on to our next guest, Mr. Alejandro or Alex Davidson, the founder of Cambodian Conservation, that everyone know as Mother Nature. We have spoken before, and I know that three of the activists in your group were jailed for exposing government corruption and environmental abuse, which in Cambodia government basically, I mean, they deny that accusation. So yeah, I would like to invite Mr. Alejandro on the floor, please.
Yes. Hello. Hello to everyone. Thank you. So I don't have a presentation. I'm going to use my voice and my experience as an environmental activist. The first thing I will say is I'm going to explain why it's me and why it's not a Cambodian who is here today. The reason is very simple. Over the last 5-6 years, Cambodia has been seeing a very serious degradation, you could argue, destruction of the human rights, democracy, and of course of the environment too. So if a Cambodian environmental activist was present here today talking, especially representing our organization, Mother Nature Cambodia, the chances of this person being jailed are pretty much 100%. We have been called a terrorist group. We have been called a rebel group. We have been criminalized. We have 6 activists in jail right now. In the past, we had other activists in jail. I was exiled, deported from Cambodia 6 years ago. I have several criminal charges against me right now. So this is why I'm here. I hope that in the future, this is why it's me here. I hope that in the future, young Cambodian environmental activists can do this kind of talk. This is the first thing I will say. Second thing, we are not journalists. We are more like something in between activism. You could argue opposition party politicians. We also play a little bit of this role, and we also play a little bit of the role of journalists. And the reason why we have to play 3 roles, environmental activism, politics, and journalism, is because the Hun Sen regime has, as I said before, completely destroying democracy in Cambodia, and they are not allowing any kind of discussion in National Assembly or Parliament. They're not allowing journalists to do their job. They are trying to kill the truth. And of course, repressive regimes which want to kill the truth, the first thing they have to do is kill the messenger, meaning they have to repress media. So over the last few years, we've been acting as activists, but also journalists exposing environmental destruction and human rights abuses. And because there is no more opposition party in Cambodia, sometimes we have to play this role of almost like as we were members of parliament in Cambodia. That is the second thing I will say. One more thing is, out of the 6 activists from our group that are currently in jail, 3 of them were arrested last September, so 1 year ago, almost 13 months ago. And their crime well, there was no crime, of course, but the Hun Sen regime, the dictatorship, sent them to jail after they said after they wanted to do a Facebook live show where one woman who was 22 years old wanted to walk for 2 kilometers to try and meet the Prime Minister, Hun Sen. Another girl who was 19, she just finished her birthday. She just celebrated her birthday. The other girl who was 19, she was going to film her. And then a male activist from his home, Ton Rotha, he's 29, he was going to be the coordinator of the live video event. We didn't even manage to start the event because the police came and arrested the 3 activists in 2 different locations. They issued arrest warrants for 3 people more, including myself, even though I was in Barcelona in Spain. And they confiscated equipment, money, phones, motorbikes, bicycles, everything you can think of, worth around $15,000 US, which of course is a lot of money for a small environmental group like Mother Nature Cambodia. And most of this equipment they stole, they didn't confiscate it as evidence. They just stole it. You know, it's not nowhere to be seen in court documents. That's the 3 people who were jailed in September last year, and the 3 people who were jailed this last June, so around more than 3 months ago, they were filming sewage water being dumped into the Mekong River in the city of Phnom Penh, which is the capital of Cambodia. So after they were arrested, they were asked, they were coerced, the police tried to force them to implicate me and to implicate the CNRP, which is the opposition party. And basically, the 3 activists said, no, we didn't do anything wrong. We are not going to implicate anybody because we didn't do a crime. And as a result of this, they were jailed, and now they are facing 5 to 10 years in jail. And then 1 month after this, so this is now July of 2021, the 3 activists who were jailed in September of last year were also charged with the same crime as these 3 last activists. So the 3 activists who were jailed in September, we were hoping to see them return to their families in March and May of 2022. Now they might be in jail for the next 5 to 10 years. This is a good example of the situation for environmental activism in Cambodia. There is every day more and more young Cambodian people who are engaged in making Cambodia more democratic and protecting the natural resources. And the Hun Sen regime, which is more and more repressive and more paranoid every day, they are basically jailing people, jailing young Cambodian people. And one thing that is, for me, very concerning is that they don't even pretend to be respecting the law. They don't even pretend that Cambodia has rule of law. They send people to jail for wanting to walk alone in the street, or they send people to jail for filming sewage going into the Mekong River and accuse them of a very serious crime, which is plotting, some kind of like armed rebellion against the government by filming a video and releasing it on Facebook. And not just Mother Nature Cambodia, there are of course many other environmental activists in Cambodia. Today I have the honor of being a spokesman for Mother Nature Cambodia, and of course representing civil society in Cambodia. And they too face repression. You know, they get physically attacked when they are patrolling in the forest, or the government is not even allowing environmental activists to enter the forests anymore. They say you need permission to enter a public forest now. There's been cases, of course, in 2012 of a friend of mine, Chupati. He was murdered in his car while he was exposing environmental destruction. And there's many activists who have been detained, sent to police station, harassed, economically harassed, psychologically harassed. So the list, unfortunately, is endless and is getting bigger and bigger by the year. One more point I wanted to make is that there is a direct relationship with some of these environmental crimes between Cambodia, well, the Cambodian dictatorship, and the Southeast Asian countries. And I will give you 2 examples, which are quite popular, quite clear, easy to understand. One of them is expensive timber, expensive wood from rosewood, for example, worth several billions, and that's billions with a B, several billions of dollars smuggled illegally out of Cambodia into Vietnam. And I say illegally because Cambodian government stopped, they banned the export of timber out of Cambodia. Exporting timber out of Cambodia is illegal, yet Vietnam legally imports this timber into the country and then turns it into furniture or re-exports it to the European Union or to the US or to China. So this is a clear indication of a clear example of this connivance, and in some cases, not just connivance, but also knowledge and facilitation of this serious environmental crime. Cambodia doesn't allow exports of timber, and these exports of timber are worth billions of dollars with a B, that's several $1,000 million. Yet Vietnam is legally importing them and charging taxes on these timber. This is an absolute scam, an absolute tragedy for Cambodian forests, which used to be very healthy and very abundant. Now they are being decimated, and this should not be happening. And if Vietnam had any semblance of resemblance of being a democracy or where rule of law existed, then Vietnam would say, we are not going to import timber from Cambodia because Cambodia doesn't allow it, doesn't allow the exports. The second example is Singapore. Singapore pretends to be a democracy, pretends to be a strong democracy with strong rule of law. Of course, we know that it's not a democracy, but they say they are. They say they don't. They say they fight against corruption, and they say they have independent courts, but they imported around 75 million tons of sand from Cambodia, from coastal mangroves of the province of Koppom, Kompot, along the coast of Cambodia, from 2008 to 2016. And they imported 75 million tons of sand to make Singapore bigger. But the Cambodian government say that they only exported, I believe it's 3 million tons. So the 72 million tons of sand worth, I think it's around 700 million US dollars. They have gone missing from Cambodian records, export records. So this is a very clear example of another Southeast Asian country being involved in the destruction of Cambodia's environment. Our organization, Mother Nature Cambodia, had 3 activists jailed for 10.5 months in 2015 because we were doing a campaign against this sand that Singapore is or was stealing. And after we exposed the 73 million tons of sand which had gone missing, the Singaporean government, they never said sorry. They never took the companies to court. They never gave any explanation. They just stopped the import of Cambodian sand, and they are now importing it from Vietnam and from the country of Myanmar. So the scam continues. The destruction of the environment continues. The destruction of local people's livelihoods, fishing communities continues, but it doesn't happen in Cambodia. Now it's moved to Myanmar or it's moved to Vietnam. So again, a really good example of a country in Southeast Asia joining hands with Cambodia or joining hands with another country in Southeast Asia to commit very serious environmental crimes. One more point, I'm approaching one of my last points, and I hope I'm not talking too fast for our interpreters. If I am, please let me know. I think it's very important to point out that when the Hun Sen regime, the Hun Sen dictatorship, sends environmental or human rights defenders to jail, there is total silence from other countries, other governments in the region. Even when the jailing of these environmental activists are decried as completely illegal, completely arbitrary by Amnesty International, United Nations, European Union, Australian government, United States Embassy. What is most shocking to me is that Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, East Timor, none of the Southeast Asian countries, none of the governments ever say anything about Cambodian activists being jailed. And of course, when Thai or Indonesian environmental activists are jailed, the Cambodian government will never say anything and will never say anything, will never criticize it. I think this is a scandal. This is something that needs to change. And I am sure that if we work together as democratic voices in Southeast Asia, in the future, we can have a situation where a human rights abuse or an environmental crime in any of the Southeast Asian countries has a fierce and very strong reaction in other countries in Southeast Asia too, not just UN or Australian, American, European Union embassies, but especially among Southeast Asian people. I think this is not impossible. This is a beautiful dream we should all have, where Southeast Asian countries help each other in protecting the environment and help each other in making the whole region more democratic. The last thing that I will say is the word development in Cambodia is being turned against a weapon, a smearing weapon against people like me, of course, against civil society, especially against environmental activists. They say that we are against development. They say that we're stopping hydroelectric dams because we don't want Cambodia to have electricity. They say we don't want them to filling a lake because we don't want Cambodia to be rich. And this excuse, this facade, this lie that they are saying doesn't have much effect, but I think it's still important. Sorry, it doesn't have much efficiency, but I think it's still important to explain to everybody that we are not against development. What we are against is fake development, which destroys the environment and only makes a few people extremely rich and destroys the livelihoods of local communities. And we also, I think the COVID-19 economic crisis is a good example of, after 25 years of Cambodia developing, growing at 7, 8, 9% per year. Hun Sen used to call Cambodia the tiger of Southeast Asia, the tiger economy. In the last 18 months, 19 months since COVID-19 started, the economy is completely going downhill. The income of Cambodian people is now just over $1,000 per year. That's over $100 per month. So makes you want to think the last 25 years of development, where Cambodia has lost most of its forests, most of its lakes, and most of its environment. Well, the environment is being destroyed alarmingly. Most of the fish in the Mekong River, most of the fish in the Tonle Sap River is being, fish stocks are being decimated. It makes you want to think what has happened with, with all this money that the regime has taken from Cambodia. I think now my time is over. Thank you, and I will participate later in the question section. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Alejandro, for all your information and also your standpoints and also conclusion in the end. So without wasting any more time, I would like to welcome our last guest. I would like to welcome Mr. Waku Diatmika. I'm so sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm trying. He's the CEO of Tempo Digital, and Tempo was sued by company in 2019, and he was facing so many challenges So he would like to share his experience about that. So please welcome Mr. Wahoo.
Thank you, Kun Jirapon, for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here and share some of our experience in Indonesia about being targeted for lawsuits and press complaint as the result of our publication, our reportings on environmental issues. I will share a slide to help better convey what I'm trying to share. Just bear with me. Here it is. Can you see my slide? Okay. So the challenges for all journalists in the region, I think, has been explained very thoroughly by the previous speakers. And I think I can say that we share the same problem in Indonesia. My colleague, my friend Diananta Sumedi, is the direct victim of Slapp strategies used by corporations to silence journalists. He has to spend 3.5 months of his life behind bars in Kalimantan because of his story, despite the fact that the Press Council of Indonesia already stated that his work is journalism in nature. So it's in Indonesia, you in theory you cannot criminalize a journalist because of the story. But despite of that, despite of the defense made by his lawyer, and despite of the Press Council support, the police and the court still punish him with that imprisonment. So I think that that shows how vulnerable the condition of journalists in Indonesia, as well as in the other country in the region, as we learn from all the panelists today. But I think, as Diananta also mentioned in his presentation, I think we have a very good momentum in this year, because last June there was this court decision in Sumatra, in Bangka Belitung, where 6 citizens were freed from a Slapp lawsuit put forward by a company, and the court used the anti-Slapp clause in our environmental protection law. And I think this is a very welcome development. It's something that we've been waiting to see the judge finally use this anti-Slapp clause with all of its shortcomings, without, as I think the first speaker explained, that in Indonesia we don't have a clear definition of what is a Slapp and who can be protected against it. But the judge's decision last June is a welcome development. I will try to share some of the experience of Tempo. So Tempo is a weekly magazine. We also have a daily newspapers and a free website, tempo.co. The magazine and the newspaper can be accessed digitally, and we have an English version for both the magazine and online website. In 2008, we published this story about tax evasion case leveled against ASEAN Agri palm oil company. It was derived from the testimony of this man, Vincentius Amin Sutanto, who used to work for this company. So he was thrown to jail because he tried to fraud the company. But because of this legal action against him, he retaliated and exposed a lot of tax planning conducted by the company. Because of this revelation, he was thrown to jail for 11 years, but he was then freed under the Justice Collaborator clause, and he has been instrumental in exposing this case and help us in publishing the story. But right after we published the story, we were sued for defamation by the company. The palm oil company has a large concession area in Sumatra and has been accused of land grabbing and a lot of conflict with local people in Sumatra. However, although we lost the case in the district court in 2008, a year later in July 2009, the appeal court decided to overturn the decision, and we won the case. And the defense was that being used was that all press complaint in Indonesia has to be lodged to the press council first before it can be processed further in the police as a criminal case or directly processed in the court as a civil case. So the press councils will be the first venue to find solution for any press complaint based on Indonesian press law number 40 year 1999. So the court used this as the main argument to overturn the lawsuit, and that become a very historical decision because many cases in Indonesia later on use this precedent to defend the press freedom in Indonesia. However, after that year, 2009, as Diananta also explained in his presentation, we have seen many other cases where journalists being threatened, harassed, sued, or reported to the police because of their stories. And I think other than Diananta, there are 3 more journalists now facing charges for their stories. Not exclusively about environment, some of them report on corruption by the local district heads or local politician and then being reported to the police. I would like to share 3 examples of stories that we did after 2009 to just give you a sense of the threat or the response, the challenges journalists face in Indonesia for exposing or publishing stories on environmental crimes. And this is the first one. It's from Indonesia Leaks. It's a collaboration of 9 media outlets in Indonesia. It created a platform where citizens can send anonymous tips, anonymous documents or leaks. And one of the material that was sent to the Indonesia Leaks team was about this pulp company called Pulp Lestari. So there's documents that being sent allegedly about the differences in tax report for their pulp product that was exported to China. So they have an affiliated company in China. But the surprising finding was that the 2 products that's supposed to be from the same source and refer to the same shipment use two different export code or HS code, indicating different price and eventually different revenue report. And obviously that will lead to tax consequences of those transactions. So the leak found differences in this taxes, and it also have a very fundamental environmental impact, because this company in Sumatra, Pulp, has been involved in land dispute with the indigenous community in North Sumatra, and it is owned by one of the richest men in Indonesia. So the contrast of having this large company being accused of misrepresented its revenue, and also on the ground having this problem with the local community is the finding, the main finding of the story. And later on October 2019, we also published another story about coal mining also in Sumatra. The government issued a permit for several mining companies to build a road that will enable them to supply coal again to China. And the road built inside a protected forest area in Jambi and South Sumatra, endangering wildlife, rhinos, tigers, elephants that live in the area, and also triggering possible illegal logging once the road is clear inside the protected forest area. And this is our report at the time. It's quite a big forest. It's called Hutan Harapan, or Forest of Hope. It's a restoration forest supported by the UK government, trying to restore a large area of forest that used to be logged for timber and other communities. But the government then issued this permit to build the road, and it could hamper the years of restoration effort in that forest. We found the connection with large companies, tycoons in Indonesia, and political affiliation between those corporations demanding the permit, and also the Ministry of Environment who issued the permit. And then this is the last story on forest fire. And we managed to use satellite images like this to show the condition of the forest before the fire happened and after the disaster happened. And you can see that from the satellite images, once the fire receded, the forest being clear and used as palm oil plantation. So this is on the left-hand side is the forest, the hotspot, and this is a few months later. It becomes plots for palm oil after the forest fire. So I think it shows connection between the forest fire and allegedly the plantation concession in the area. So I want to show you that these three stories we received a lot of complaint and challenges. Usually companies refuse to place ads, try to cut the revenue source to media outlets that publish critical stories about their wrongdoings. And even the government, the Ministry of Environment, usually stay silent and refuse to give confirmation on the story. But once the story is out, once the story is published, then they complain not being not being given, a fair chance to respond, giving a fair right to reply, accusing us of bias. While the fact is we have given them the time to respond, but they just refuse. And then the fact that it's not there in the story, the fact that there's no explanation from the accused parties in the story is being used to portray us of being biased. So that kind of attack usually happen, and they use like social media and anonymous account on social media to portray the media or to use doxing techniques to expose the identity of the journalists and harass the journalists on social media. So my point is, this is my last point, lawsuits is one way to harass and attack journalists, but it is not the only way. There is many other venues for parties who wants to level attack against journalists. They can use social media nowadays. They can use the internet, and they can also threaten the revenue source of any critical media outlet. So even though Indonesia has a good precedent in defending the press, the freedom of the press from Slapp's using the press law, it is not a guarantee that whoever wants to attack journalists from doing it. So it's not, it cannot prevent from future attack using Slapp as displayed as evident in Diananta case and other cases in Indonesia. I think that's all for now. I'm looking forward for the conversation afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wagu, for your session. We are a bit running out of time, and some of our speaker have to leave early. So I'd like to invite the speaker Prat to answer one of the questions from the listener and also wrap up his session before he goes. Kun Pat, so there's a question from your listener. The person is asking, why do you get slapped as individual journalists when you're on duty, and what was your company action?
Okay, I would like to answer like this. For the first case that I have been sued, by the company sue me. But at the time, I am with The Nation, which is a big media house, and they also have the legal team to support. Compare my story with the other journalists that have been shared in the panel. My story is really little thing, but yes, it caused me some trouble to go to court and caused me to lose time and money to fight the case. Why I can use this resource to further my work and help the people. And I would like to wrap up like this. There are many cases that the journalist has been sued, but there are a lot citizen journalists and people on the social media who act as the journalists, but they did not have the journalist professional. They're not journalists, but they act like journalists. They also do a good work to be the watchdog for the society and let the people know what happened in the society. Being a good journalist, whether you are the professional reporter or not, is telling the truth, which most of the time it will cause some people that be mentioned in the news that they will feel unhappy and they may sue us. But in reality, we should not be sued because being journalist is given the space for both of them or the people who are affected by their action to have a voice. So let me speak like this. Anyone who work as the social watchdog activist or anyone who reporting the truth should not be suppressed, should not be sued by any way, and should be protected by the law of any government, not just in Thailand, but it should be protected overall. I would like to wrap up like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time, Kun Pat. I know you have to go, so thank you again for staying with us for 2 hours. So we have just a couple more questions before we end it with the remarks. So that question direct to Ajahn Vilaiwan. So people are asking, what are the code of ethics or code of conduct of citizen journalists? If you could answer that question, Ajahn Vilaiwan.
ค่ะว่ายังไงคะ
ค่ะคือมีคำถามมาถึงอาจารย์นะคะว่าอะไรคือเป็น ethics เป็น code of conduct อะค่ะสำหรับการเป็น citizen journalist อะค่ะ
ดูเหมือนว่าคำถามนี้ค่ะก็เป็นข้อถกเถียงกันอยู่เหมือนกันเนอะล่าสุดกับเคสกรณีของประเทศไทยที่เคสกรณีที่ม็อบดินแดงนะคะแล้วก็การเข้าพื้นที่ของม็อบดินแดงแล้วปรากฏว่าตำรวจมีการตั้งกฎกติกาขึ้นมาใช่ไหมคะว่าคนที่จะเข้าพื้นที่นั้นได้ต้องมีใบในการแสดงตัวตนเกิดขึ้นโดยใช้โดยอ้างเรื่องใบเกี่ยวกับบัตรที่ออกโดยกรมประชาสัมพันธ์นะคะตอนนั้นเนี่ยดูเหมือนก็จะมี
The government try to restrict the freedom for like the media profession by having the public relation department to enable citizen reporter to access the Dindang protest site. They require actually like the professional media license, which some of the journalists actually like cannot acquire such permit from the public relation department because they don't have any institution. And when people start questioning the professional media, that means you are trying to kind of like exclude citizen reporter, despite the citizen reporters, as you have heard, that citizen reporters should have the role complementing the professional media in order to report or cover the information that professional journalists cannot access or cannot actually like reach us. So what about the code of conduct? To me, I think the code of conduct for me and for like the code of conduct for journalists is the personal branding, personal image. So whenever you have the new technology that can supplement or complement the role of journalism, and also sometimes, you know, like the media who is like own account media, they can actually like they can use social media despite that media institution or that citizen reporter get trusted. Why people trust that citizen reporter despite this person does not have any media institution, or the media is considered trustworthy because of his or her branding or professionalism, despite the ethic or despite the kind of like lack of institutional framework for the media or the media framework. So it depends on personal ethic and personal integrity, and whoever who perform the role as a journalist, I think they have responsibility. They should have like social responsibility and have the ethic and integrity, so that can really like help a lot. I think interestingly, we have seen during the past couple of weeks the argument regarding the role of the media in Dindang, and also like based on your recommendation of the professionalism of citizens journalism. I think this is a good thing. We also talk about environmental environmental reporters. The fact we're not going to talk about absolute truth, but whose truth or whose fact is counted. We have different fact. We have different fact. We have different truth. We have the fact from the government. We have fact from the private sector. We have the fact from the villagers, and we have different fact, the fact and the voices of the small people in the area. They can also contribute and play the role. But today, the government are trying to say that you have to be a quote-unquote professional media, and they don't accept the different voices. This is a very concerning issue. Apart from using the professionalism to control the media and the institutionalized media, when people try to voice different facts from the state or from the government, they try to kind of like label it to say like this is fake news if you think differently from the state. I think this is how the government have threatened the media, whether you are professional media or citizen reporters. Thank you so much. And
so there's listener asking what can you foresee in the future of environmentalists in Cambodia?
Yeah, actually, I think that the main reason why the Hun Sen regime...
Alex still there? This is a question for you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the main reason why the Hun Sen regime is repressing environmental activists so much is because environmental activism in Cambodia is finally taken off, is finally become a potentially very powerful part of Cambodian society. 10 years ago, there was no repression there was very little repression against environmental activism in Cambodia because there was virtually no environmental activism in Cambodia. So inside the very bad news of 6 environmental activists in jail and the other issues that I spoke about before, there is the good news that Cambodian people, especially young Cambodian people, they are finally waking up to the fact that they need to be involved in the protection of the environment. And in answer to your question, I think that, sorry, I just lost you there for a second. In answer to your question, I think that things will continue to get worse for environmental activists in Cambodia in the months to come. But in the short-term future, things will continue to get worse. I think more activists will go to jail. The activists who are now in jail will probably stay there for years. But in the long term, I think that this force of Cambodian people getting involved will make sure that the few forests and the few lakes and the few environmental resources that Cambodia still have can be protected. So I am not positive at all in the short term, but I am very positive in the long term that Cambodia will achieve true democratic status, and it will protect its environment, and it will be able to collaborate with countries in Southeast Asia in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very optimistic. So I would like to ask the same question towards Mr. Wahu. How do you foresee the future of environmental journalists in Indonesia?
Yeah, I think it's quite bleak because we just have a new law passed by the parliaments on job creation law that in some sense reduce the environmental protection for new investment or for new corporation investing in forestry area and a lot of the remote areas in Indonesia. So I think the nature of the law open up potential negative impact for the environment, and that will force journalists that publish stories about them, in confrontation with companies and government want to push the investment in that direction. So I personally foresee a lot of conflicts and potential clashes between the journalists, the environmental journalists facing Slapps in the future.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think we kind of run out of time. So yeah, and I think this is all the questions that we get from the listeners. So I would like each of you to make the final remarks before we end it here. So I think let's start with Pochoy, maybe. So you can make a very precise final remark, please.
Yeah, hello everyone. Again, thank you so much for inviting me here and letting me present our findings on SLAPs in Southeast Asia. But I guess I'd like to end this session with some of the good practices that we've suggested for civil society and also for human rights defenders. Very quickly, just the first is accurate documentation. That's very important of the impact of the business operation, because this helps the courts decide that the statements related to the documented impacts are made in good faith and with no intent to spread malicious falsehood. This is not really an explicit requirement, but we think it's always prudent to invite companies, although usually they don't respond, but invite companies to respond to allegations before publicly exposing these to the public. Of course, this is on a case-to-case basis, depending on the situation in the country. And yeah, well, just observe proper journalistic ethics.
Yeah.
It's also so you have a valid defense if ever you get to go to court. So thank you very much for this opportunity again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pochoy. Can we please move on to Diananta and your final remark, if you have any recommendation or anything before we end the session, Diananta? I'm not sure if Diananta could hear.
Nah, kamera saya agak rusak ini.
My camera is damaged. It's okay, right?
Yes, it's fine. It's fine.
Oke, terima kasih.
Thank you very much. In my closing remark, I would like to share a message that journalism works have to gain protection, because without sufficient protection, criminalization against the journalists will continue, and the government, whether the law enforcement officials from the police prosecutor's office, from the court, they have to understand the journalism issue by understanding the mechanism under the law on press. Without adhering to the law on press, of course, the criminalization will continue against the environmental journalists. Moreover, there will be revision of the law on electronic information and transaction, it actually have to improve the guarantee of better protection for the journalists. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Diananta, for your time and sharing experience with us. I would like to move on to Edwin, please, if
Yes.
you could leave final remarks with us.
Yes, good afternoon again. Thank you for inviting me, and hope we will more discuss in the next to what's that to improve more regarding the protection, journalist protection against the most influential destructor of the environment throughout the world. Thank you so much, and God bless all.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Edwin. So let's move on to the person before last. Maybe Alex, you can
Yes.
can
you hear me?
Remark. Yes, please.
I want to end with a dream. Well, sharing what is right now it's a dream, but I think that we can do it. Collaboration between Southeast Asian people in protecting the environment and in protecting human rights. Of course, they go together. Environment and human rights they go together. So and when I mean collaboration, I don't only mean NGOs like our NGOs or civil society. I mean governments, I mean members of parliament, I mean media, of course, journalists too. Right now, we are very far from achieving this dream, but I think it's possible. The European Union did it, is doing it, it works okay. The American continent is doing it, it works sort of okay. So if other countries, if other parts of the world can do it, Southeast Asia can do it. And when we have this, when we have strong collaboration, if there's a human rights abuse in some country in Southeast Asia, there is a strong reaction by other countries. I think we can in the future maybe even contemplate creating a human rights court, Southeast Asian human rights court, which is legally binding. So if a serious human rights abuse is committed in Indonesia, for example, then this Southeast Asian-based human rights court can be a tool of assistance to the people who are being whose rights are being violated. So not only the national court, but also the Southeast Asian Human Rights Court. I think this is something that we can all do if we continue to try our best and we continue to collaborate with each other. Thank you. And thank you for organizing this wonderful event. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I'd like to move on to our final guest. Wahoo, if you can do something for us, please.
Thank you, Kun Jerapon. First of all, I think I would like to express my solidarity to all my fellow journalists in the region that have faced similar fate, similar challenges in exposing environmental crimes in the region. I think it is a very important work, and I applaud you for your bravery, for your persistence to keep doing what you're doing. We need that in the region. And secondly, I want to echo what Alex said, that we need more collaboration in the region. We need maybe thinking, European Union model is still too far away, but at least in a grassroots level, in media level, in journalism level, we can work together. We can do stories together, because the impact, the environmental impact are connected. What happened in one country in Southeast Asia affect other country. So it's just logical to us to work on this story together and to enlighten and inform our respective communities about the impact of environmental damages to the future of our children. So I think that's a huge responsibility, and we can do it if we work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wahu. So I think this has come to an end. So I would like to thank all the speakers for your time, also interpreter, whether it's in Thai, in Bahasa, in Khmer, in English. And thank you our technical team who are behind the scene and organizing this panel discussion to happen. I do hope in the future that discussion will be useful and all the journalists and also activists in Southeast Asia will gain more protection so we can all work freely. Thank you again, all the speakers, for your time, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much,
Bye-bye.
Konchirapon, for the moderating for this session. And thank you all to the panelists for a rich discussion. I wish we could have more time for this session. Okay, so now we will take a very short break and come back at 3:30 p.m. Bangkok, Thailand time. Enjoy your break.
Bye-bye.